Hey guys, I'm the Burke and I do things. And if you know me, you know that I love neutral eyeshadows. So I got this idea from a video that I saw on Abby Williamson's channel. And I thought it'd be really fun to talk about my top 5 neutral eyeshadow palettes that I would recommend to you guys. I was very conscious to choose ones that are obviously still available. You know, that's a big issue, is a lot of palettes kind of come and go and get discontinued. I broke them out at price per shadow for comparison, so you can kind of compare the different prices. I have higher end, I have more affordable drugstore in front of me. If this is something you guys really like, let me know if you'd like to see this with other categories of makeup going forward. I would definitely love to do this. I had fun like researching and everything for this video. So if you guys want to see my top 5 neutral eyeshadow palette recommendations for you guys, then keep on watching. Let's go. I also tried to take a picture of myself using each of these eyeshadows, so you will see that. I am wearing one of them today and I will let you know which one that is also. So I think what we'll do is, instead of going from most expensive palette to least expensive palette, I'm going to go by most expensive price per shadow and kind of work our way down from there. So our first palette, coming in at $5 per shadow, is from Natasha Denona, and this is the Mini Nude palette. This retails for $25, hence $5 a shadow. This is probably my most used eyeshadow palette in my entire collection. This shade in the center is just, it is just absolutely beautiful. It's one of my favorite. Look at that. This palette's worth it just for that shade alone, in my opinion. What I really like about this palette is I always come up with a very good eye look. However, I don't need to really think about the eye look. Like, I have a very staple crease shade, an outer corner, you know, deepening shade, and then it's kind of like, do I want more of a coppery look, more of a shimmery champagne look, or this shade here that's a little bit more bronzy has like a little bit more like sparkle to it. I feel like it's really easy, straightforward, no nonsense, let's just put a look together kind of palette. I do think the price tag on these is obviously a little bit ridiculous at coming in at $5 a shadow. However, I definitely feel like with me, I feel like I'm definitely getting my money's worth since I'm enjoying it so much. I definitely use it a lot. So yes, this is the most expensive price per shadow in this video. Okay, our next palette is coming in at $3.21 a shadow. And this is from Laura Lee Los Angeles, and this is the Nudie Patootie palette. I've had this palette now for 2 years. Now I have to be careful because there are like some shades in here. They're very delicate. These two shades here are like more like glittery shades. I can show you, I can do a swatch of it. So this is the shade Jaybird. I think this is considered a duochrome. So like, yeah, it's like a copper maroony kind of duochrome. So these shades are very, very delicate. But what I love about this palette is it doesn't look like a palette that would pack a punch, but actually the pigmentation on the mattes are really, really good and they blend really well. And just some of these shimmer shades are so beautiful. Like, I'll swatch a few of the shimmers. So here's some of the shimmers. So those are just like a couple of shimmer options. I just feel like this is one of those eyeshadow palettes where it's a little bigger. I didn't even say how much this costs. This costs $45. So it's $45 and you're paying $3.21 a shadow, since there are 14 shadows in here. The pans are definitely bigger than, say, like a ColourPop pan size. So you are getting a decent amount of product. I like that there's like a pinky shade and more of like a mustardy shade to add a little color to a more neutral look. There's good deepening shades. There's good inner corner shade. Like, I feel like this is a very, very well-rounded neutral palette. It gives you more options than something like the Natasha Denona, which, if you are someone who's newer to eyeshadow and you're trying to learn and experiment with different types of eye looks, I feel like this kind of palette would work out really well for you. It has a really nice mirror. It's like sturdy magnetic packaging. Like I said, I've had this for over 2 years now and I don't have any issues with it. Okay, our next palette is also $45. However, this comes in at $2.25 per shade, which is almost $1 less per shade than the Laura Lee. And that is the Violet Voss Pro Eyeshadow HG palette. This palette, in comparison, has 20 shades and has a very decent array of light to deeper neutrals. This one is definitely more of a warm tone palette. As you can see, it also kind of goes into some like purpley and orangey tones, which, if you are someone who does enjoy more of a warm tone neutral look, I feel like this would be more of what you were looking for. Again, we can swatch some shimmers because why not? I always use this shade here, Bestie. It's really fun. Chill is one of my favorites too. I am a big fan of light neutral shimmer shades. So there are some of the shimmers in this palette. Again, I think something really good about the mattes in this palette is they are really blendable, easy to work with. I think this is a great beginner palette as well. I feel like I hear a lot of people rave about this palette and say that sometimes they forget about it. And I will say, as somebody with a bigger palette collection, it is something that gets kind of hidden in my collection because it's a bigger palette. But I feel like if I was new to makeup, this would be so great. I would probably pan these shadows. Like, even this shade is literally called Transition. Like, it's so beginner friendly. I think you could do an array of looks with something like this as far as neutral palettes go. So this is definitely, I think, a great deal. Even though it's the same price as the Laura Lee, it's coming in at almost $1 less per shade. But then again, the actual shades are much smaller. Let me show you what I mean. So the pans of the Violet Voss are definitely like a little bit smaller, but you are getting more bang for your buck in that case. Okay, our next palette is coming in at $1.50 a shade, so we're really getting down there. This one I was hesitant to put in, but I feel like it's a good idea to put in. I decided to put the ColourPop Sweet Talk palette in. Now, I think it really depends on who you are if you would consider this a neutral palette or not. I don't have a large ColourPop eyeshadow palette collection, and I feel like if I own something like Going Coconuts, that is where this would fit into this video. So I feel like just talking about ColourPop shadows in general works just as well. The only reason I honestly don't own Going Coconuts is every time I have tried to buy it, it's been sold out. So I can only assume it's really good. But for this video, we'll talk about this as my most neutral ColourPop palette. I think this is a great palette. One of the best things they ever did was include a Super Shock in their palette. I will say this shadow here doesn't look like much, but it will transform your look. I promise you that. I will say that is there 1 or 2 pressed glitters in this palette? I think there's 2 pressed glitters. I'm not really one to use the pressed glitters, but they are definitely beautiful. If you are one to like to work with pressed glitters, I would recommend a glitter glue. But for only $1.50 per shade you're paying for these, the pigmentation is so good. The mattes blend well. I'm not someone who's always drawn to a more pinky tone eye look, but I find this very easy to use. Oh, we should look at this palette, this shade too. I'm sorry, I'm just like going swatch crazy today, but like look at that shimmer. That is beautiful. I get that it's not the most neutral, but it's the most neutral I could find. And I wanted to really focus on palettes I had that are still available because I could have thrown the ColourPop Dream Street palette in. That's a little bit more neutral. However, that one is no longer available. So I thought we could talk about this one. I think this is great. Maybe someday I'll try Going Coconuts, but for now, I would definitely recommend this formula in general for a great neutral palette. Okay, the last palette is the palette I'm wearing today, coming in at 78 cents a shade. You heard me, 78 cents a shade. We have the E.l.f. The New Classics palette. If you know someone who is just wanting to get into makeup, doesn't want to invest a lot of money, this palette costs $14 for 18 shades. Let's do some swatches of shimmers because I like swatching shimmers in case you couldn't tell yet. Like if you've heard a lot of hype about the E.l.f. little quads, this is the same formula. Like look at how pretty that is. It's like so pretty. I feel like I'm always able to come up with a really easy eye look. Again, this one is similar to the Violet Voss where you kind of have a lot of options. There's cool tone shades in here. There's more warm tone shades. It really has a variety. Even the shimmers, like this is kind of like a green shimmer, an orangey shimmer. We have pinky shimmers, a dark black matte where you can learn to start working on like blending with black mattes. I feel like this is a really, really, really great beginner palette. I mean, in general, they have a lot of these size palettes in different colors. Just if you're looking for something more neutral for a beginner, I think this is a great way where you won't necessarily spend all your money, but you will get a good variety of good quality shadows. And yeah, that was it for this video. Definitely let me know in the comments what some of your top neutral eyeshadow palettes are. I know I definitely don't have the largest collection, so I had to be very selective when it came to which ones I wanted to talk about in this video. And let me know again if there are other types of products you'd like to see something similar let me know in the comments. And as usual, thanks for stopping by my channel. If you're new here, click the subscribe button and ring that bell for notifications. I have my Twitter and my Instagram down below. Give them a follow, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.